the phoenix risen. You were on top of the world. The lies you spread, keeping souls trapped in fear, anger, envy, discontent, and pride. You were the puppetmaster, and it seemed your strings were steels of cable, tighter than Arachne's web of hubris. You were on top of the world, until the day the dark spirits whispered, "Beware, a chosen one is coming. She will be anointed by God and protected by her ancestors. She will break the generational curse and escape the matrix once and for all. She will awaken the world and break those souls free." Suddenly, fear gripped your heart. Your blood turned to ice because you feared nothing more than losing control and finally being seen. So you sent your demons to watch over her birth. You orchestrated it so that her own relatives injected poison into her mother's blood, hoping to kill the child while still in her mother's womb. You watched in disbelief as the child beat the odds and survived what should have killed her before her birth. You increased your efforts, winning over her family, one by one. "She's a demon child," your lieutenants whispered. "Look at how strange she is. She's not normal." When she spoke with unusual maturity and showed supernatural powers, the demons whispered, "She's dangerous. She must be stopped." Falling prey to either greed or fear, her family bound her, voice so she couldn't speak her truth, light so she couldn't shine, sight so she couldn't see, spirit so she couldn't heal. You bribed, threatened, and tempted her, friends and teachers, until they all owed you their soul. You watched in satisfaction as she was bullied by her family, excluded by her peers, demeaned by her teachers, and sacrificed by her lovers. You kept close watch as the Cowans attacked her to try to steal her destiny, until finally she fell into the grave you had already dug for her, swords sticking out of her back as she screamed in silent agony. Satisfied, you turned and walked away, knowing the threat was neutralized and no one would rise to challenge your control again. You forgot one thing though. God was watching, because she was his chosen one, and he was waiting for you to leave so he could step in to resurrect her. You forgot that she was anointed by heaven, a chosen one, an indigo child, a starseed, a selfless soul who chose to endure human hell on earth to raise the consciousness of the entire world and free them from your demonic control. Once you left her for dead, God and his angels swooped in. They gently laid her on the earth and pulled out the bloody swords with tears in their eyes. The angels held her with healing hands as her ancestors mourned her wounds. The elements rushed in to replace what had been lost. The moon awakened her powers, and the fairies gave her wings. The animals gave her the unconditional love she had craved all her life. Her shadow gave her the strength to rise anew, while her soul tribe guided her to water. She looked at God and all those who helped her with love in her heart, and with a sweet smile she said, "Thank you for not leaving me behind." She remembered her soul contract, and she committed herself to God's path. She willingly went back to face the demons that once tormented her. One by one, she slew them with love, hurt but still standing, bleeding but still smiling. She walked in faith, even when her path was dark, doubting but never quitting, although the darkness called to her, picking at her unhealed wounds, preying on her deepest fears, and tempting her with forbidden desires. Still she never wavered from her path. She stumbled but didn't fall. She questioned but never turned away. From that quiet voice within her, she questioned but never turned away from that quiet voice within her. She cried to God for relief, but kept going even when met with silence, knowing that one day it would all finally make sense. She alchemized her pain and turned sorrow into purpose, fear into strength. She began to respect pain as a teacher and followed her fears to her destiny. So God delivered her from her hell and gave her his angel wings. She turned to him and said, "Now what, God?" He told her, You have proven your loyalty to me and only to me. So now you can choose your own path as on the road ahead." He gave her two options, the castle and the mountain. In the castle, he said, "You'll be treated like the queen you are and have servants waiting on you hand and foot. You will know complete joy with a divine counterpart." Or you can choose the mountain. This will not be an easy path. It is filled with challenges, trials, and tribulations, but through it you will become even closer to me. With no hesitation and a happy smile, she said, "I choose the mountain so I can be closer to you." Pride in his eyes, God guided her as she set out to save the other souls trapped in hell. His angels trained her to face her fears and battle her insecurities. The nature spirits watched in joy as she embraced her shadows and welcomed them with motherly love. Her spirits kept guard as she suffered poverty, shame, and humiliation. She held her head high even as she was tortured day and night. Still she endured, through her faith in God and his plan. She forged ahead and relied on her angels to see her through. Animals adored her, birds guided her, bees stayed close to her, all lending her their power. Trees energized her, Mother Earth sheltered her, while the ocean purified her through salt. And so she rose again, stronger than before, the phoenix rising from the ashes that had once buried her alive. Yet still she never lost that gentle smile, dusting herself off as she expressed gratitude to her soul tribe. Meanwhile, the puppet master watched her quiet rise with alarm, the threat he thought long buried, standing strong with heaven's backing. In a panic, he ordered the old demons who had attacked her to begin the battle anew. Those first wave of demons she vanquished with a single thought. The next she vaporized with a lazy wave of her hand. The third lot approached her in fear, and she gave them a choice: leave now or suffer my wrath. The wise ones left, respect for her in their hearts. The rest, well, you know what happened to them. The puppet master cowered and started sending in a special task force to spy on her and master her moves so they could finally defeat her. But when they eventually approached her, she had already evolved beyond recognition. She had learned new moves that left them floundering and wishing they had never signed up for this losing war. The survivors crawled back to the puppet master, and he desperately turned to his strongest lieutenant, who looked back at his master and refused to attack God's chosen one. Not only because he feared her, but because he had fallen in love with her. Yes, a demon had fallen in love with the chosen one. The puppet master turned belligerent, reminding him of his debt. So reluctantly, the Prince of Darkness prepared to attack his love, and gladly surrendered to her sword's double-edged blade. While the puppet master ran around doing his best to find someone else to hide behind, God was preparing his chosen for her final battle. Hecate gave her the torch of light and named her the High Priestess. Kali gave her the strength and taught her how to integrate her shadows. The Morrigan led her to ancient legends and trained her in witchcraft. Artemis gave her the hunting bow and blessed her with moonlight. Apollo turned her into the light of a billion stars, while Athena blessed her with wisdom and trained her in war strategy. Lakshmi blessed her with abundance, while Vishnu guided her every step. He sent Shesha to guard her and Garuda to keep watch up above. Dragon spirits awakened through her energy, and so did the dinosaurs that had been sleeping for centuries. Rabbits and horses pranced around her, while the Fae flocked to her to obey her every wish. Her ancestors carefully guided her to learn about the enemy, while the animals protected her and filled her heart with joy. Finally, she was ready. Archangel Michael gave her his sword of light, while Indra reluctantly surrendered his lightning bolt. Stepping fully into her power, she stalked towards her enemy. the lion within her roaring and the dragon breathing fire. She charged forward into battle, carrying the power of all the gods. With her sword she cleaved the puppet master's head from his shoulders. She drank every drop of the demon's blood, so none reached the sacred earth. The dark blood poisoned her light, and she wore his head around his waist, laughing in glee. Then she began to dance in righteous rage, and nature reacted to her wrath in alarm. Lightning flashed and thunder clapped. The ocean heaved and heaven broke open. Tsunamis and hurricanes raged across the surface of the earth. Mountains crumbled, glaciers burst, wildfires tore across the earth, scarring the innocent grounds. And she began to stalk towards the human world, rage in her footsteps. The gods tried to approach her in alarm, but they backed away from her stormy rage and the swing of her sword. Helplessly they watched as the earth began to collapse around them, trapping both the innocent and the lost. Until Shiva came and lay down in her path, so that her next step was onto his chest. She came to her senses in a trice, and looked down in horror at God lying on the floor before her. She began crying tears of remorse, blaming herself bitterly, until Shiva got up and went to her, holding her close. He told her, "My love, you did nothing wrong. This was always how it was meant to be. If his blood touched the earth, 1,000 more demons would be born from each drop, and we would never have won this war." Still she couldn't forgive herself, and went into solitude to seek penance. On her journey she met a sage who was really Shiva in disguise, and asked him how to repent for disrespecting Shiva. He smiled and advised her, "Write down the glories of God, so that all the world can see how he loves his chosen ones, and succors them in need." And so she went into deep meditation. She prepared to write her story. As she prepared to write her story, Saraswati gifted her with wisdom and creativity, and while expressing herself, she learned to forgive herself so she could love again like before. She returned to God, who was waiting for her on his throne on top of the mountain, and she asked, "What must I do now?" Looking at her with the most tender love in his eyes, he replied, "Now you must accept your rightful place next to me and take your throne. Allow me to crown you and worship you the way you always deserved." The end. Postscript. Who is the puppet master? Ask yourself who it is that wants you to stop thinking for yourself. Once you find the answer to this riddle, his reign will finally end.